Hello! Today I'll be discussing the possible causes of the mystery that is endometriosis. The most commonly accepted cause of endometriosis is something called retrograde menstruation. This is when blood and tissue, or endometrial cells, from the inner lining of the uterus travel out of the fallopian tubes instead of down through the vaginal canal during menstruation. It is theorized that it happens to over 90% of people who menstruate. The blood is just simply reabsorbed into the body once it enters the pelvic cavity. But what about when that doesn't go to plan? Sometimes the endometrial cells traveling from the uterus outside the uterus can land on the outside of the uterus, the fallopian tubes, the ovaries, or anywhere in the pelvic cavity and begin to grow a new lining there. But that's not the only way that the cells can get there. Researchers discovered the case of premenarchal endometriosis, which is when a prepubescent uterus develops endometrial cell growth on its outside, cell transportation without blood flow. For some background information, when we are starting to develop, we are just a couple of cells that have no specific job. They are called stem cells. Now, when we develop into a full, functioning, breathing human being with limbs and organs and all those special things, we don't lose that type of cell. They become adult stem cells, which are just cells that we have in our bodies that don't have a specific job yet. When a tissue is damaged, we need extra ones to come in and turn into that tissue in order to repair the damage. Researchers found that in the case of endometriosis, hormones can tell adult stem cells outside of the uterus to turn into endometrial cells, even though they're not in the right place. Think of hormones as messengers of instructions from the brain, but sometimes they get confused and tell the wrong cells the wrong instructions. They found that estrogen is particularly capable of transforming adult stem cells into endometrial cells. Estrogen starts being active at the beginning of puberty, not just when menstruation starts. So endometriosis can develop far before we originally thought. The cells on the outside behave just as the ones on the inside. They thicken and then shed during menstruation. But when the blood enters the pelvic cavity with nowhere to go, the immune system receives an alarm. The immune system then tries to destroy or expel the tissue at any measures possible. It releases the uterus contractor, prostaglandin, as well as inflaming the entire area, which is what causes the pain and cramping. But again, these causes are not known for sure. There's still a long way to go in the research of endometriosis, answering questions like, how do we prevent it? How do we identify it without extensive poking and prodding? And how do we treat it without sacrificing the health of our endocrine system? Answering a question with more questions is not typically satisfying, but that's the world of science for you, and for now, let's stay curious. Thanks for watching.